Right, now that I've finally sorted out lighting and where the hell I need to be sitting, welcome back to the channel. So tonight I have a list of stuff to talk about and I will go way off track. You know I will. But here's my list. Yes, I'm old school, I am pen and paper. Excuse any background noise you may hear, because at the moment there's some kids playing out in the street who have discovered the noise that goes a little bit like, hiya. Yep, and here's a train. So, without further ado, that is the 2101 I don't know. I'm not sure which way that went. I think it went that way. Anyway, so, as you guessed by the thumbnail, should you work for free? Now, this is my opinion, and this is photography based. Obviously, all different things, different genres of whatever job and career are different. But photography, should you work for free? Now, the reason I want to touch on this is because whenever I do a free job, I've answered that already. Whenever I do a free job, the wife might moan, "Why are you doing it for free?" Now, there is a reason, and I'm going to go over some reasons. So bear with me. There may be some cuts. There may just be me looking at my notes. I don't know yet. We'll see how well I edit it and how bothered I can be to make it look good. Probably read it off this. Anyway, so basically, if you don't work for free, you're starting off, okay? So you've got no portfolio. You go to someone to sell your work, you've got no work to sell. How can they see your work if you haven't got any work? No one's going to pay you because they can't see your work. See what I mean? No job, no home, no, it's that bloody bullshit, isn't it? So, basically, you need to build up a portfolio. So, for that, you need to take photos. Now, I'm not talking necessarily landscape, and I'm not putting down landscape photographers. They make money, it's a job. But I mean, you're trying to get clients. Like, you can go out and take a photo of a landscape, and then you can try to sell that on Facebook and websites or whatever. That's a little bit different. But if you're going to go and work with clients for portrait, for models, for cars, which I predominantly seem to be doing, you need to reach out to them and you need to sell yourself to them. And why do they want to use you? Because your work is better than the next guy or girl. So you have to work for free to gain a contact. You have to work for free to build up the portfolio. Now, I have a golden rule that I stand by, for me. You know, this is completely do what you like. But for me, basically, if I approach, I don't charge. If I'm approached, I do. Simple as that. So I might see a nice car that maybe has some meaning for me. You know, I had one when I was younger, or it's just a car that I want in that portfolio. So for them, I have to go to them and say, "Can I photograph your car?" Sometimes they say, "What do you want for it?" And I'll just be like, "Call it a beer." You know what I mean? And it just gets a 4-pack or whatever, and it's a nice, leave a tip.
You niggas want to work out, you muscles, you big muscle motherfucker, you.
But I do not expect anything. So it's purely I have approached you, therefore I'm not charging you. Off the back of that, you may then gain a contact that can give you more work. And that is where you work for free. You work to gain a contact. You work to gain a relationship, a trust for them to then use you, share you. Their friends who are probably in a similar kind of car scene or whatever scene it might be. You know, if it's models, their friends want shots of them with their hair done nice and whatever. So it's all about gaining that relationship. So for me, that is step one. Step two, which is still kind of based slightly on step one, is are you devaluing your work by working for free? And I've seen this on forums and it's quite an interesting one. And I toyed with doing this video live so we could actually get a bit of interaction on it. But it's just a bit of a ball ache to set up to go live, so I didn't bother.
I'm lazy when I'm loving, I'm lazy when I'm playing.
So do you devalue your work, or do you not value your work if you're doing it for free? Again, that's kind of reference back to step one. You're doing it to gain that contact. You're doing it to build up that portfolio, to get yourself on the map. So I personally don't think you're devaluing your work one bit. I can charge a good amount of money for a car shoot, or I can do it for free. They will get the same shoot, but one is for a reason and one is because I've been approached. So me personally, no, I don't believe that you're devaluing your work. So on to step three, reason three, the third part of this video. Hang on. Now, we all have, in whatever genre your photography or in general careers are, we all have someone that is doing it cheaper. Okay, not necessarily better, sometimes maybe they are better. So how do we sort of go about this? And this, again, I've seen this chat on forums and various YouTubes and whatever. Now, I charge, let's say, right, I'm going to use actual values of money here. Let's say I charge £100 for a car shoot, and I see someone else who maybe is sort of a rival nearby or whatever, you know, that might be taking your work off you, and they're taking it for 30 quid, right? They're doing a shoot for 30 quid. There's two ways of looking at this. One is their work better. If it isn't, you haven't got too much to worry about. If it is, are you overcharging? Are they undercharging? So, I used to charge 30 quid for a car shoot, and I couldn't get a car shoot, okay? Now the reason I couldn't get a car, well, I did get car shoots, but not what I wanted. And then you've got to do like 4 times as much work, 3.2 times as much work to gain that same amount of one if you charge 100 quid. But you have to be able to be worth that 100 quid. So we'll get a bit more into that in a minute. But basically, I was charging 30 quid and you couldn't really get any work for a very good reason. The 3 scenarios are, number 1, shitbox. Right, they're driving around in their mum's fucking Civic or whatever, and they can't afford to run it. So they're not going to have it photographed because they can barely afford to look after it, especially in current times. Okay, so no point photographing a shitbox because they can't afford to pay for it. And I'm not putting anyone down with a shitbox. I quite like some of the cars you guys drive around in, believe it or not. And I do photograph some for nothing because I quite like them. Alright, but I'm just saying, this is the term you guys use, alright? I'm of the older generation where it was just a car. Nowadays you call it a shitbox. Option 2 is a supercar. Now, if I approach a supercar, of which I've already said I don't charge if I approach, but I want that contact, they're going to say, well, why should I pay you? Because you want to photograph my car. They've got something that I want to photograph. Why are they going to pay me? So that's another good reason. And you're like, yeah, cock it. Can't really do that one. Third, right, now this is where I've gone. Third is the unusual, okay? The either heavily modified, kit car, classic, something like that, something around that kind of region, because they've got expendable cash, they've got 2 cars at least, because most certainly kit cars and even heavily modified generally aren't dailies, and it's their pride and joy. They plough all their money into it. Rich people drive supercars because they can. Poor people drive shitboxes because they can't afford supercars. That area in the middle is a very good market to hit, and then you've got to cost that effectively, okay? Like I say, I couldn't get a shoot at 30 quid. So I was like, right, I'm going to charge more. And I actually upped it quite a bit more. And I started getting work. Because you go into a different bracket. You hit a different market of people, a different clientele of how they see the world, how they see money. So that for me was a bit of a no-brainer. At which point, then you got contacts, and then you work with companies, and so on and so forth. So that is a long-winded step 3. Refer to notes. Now, number 4. This is where I'm probably going to go slightly off should you work for free. I'm going to go a little bit off that. But you need to, if you're charging accordingly and you're charging good money, you need to be able to produce the goods. Okay? I consider my car photography, and I'm going to stick with the cars for now. I consider my car photography to be pretty good. It sounds crap saying, oh yeah, I think my work's great. I'm impressed with what I'm doing, but I'm always learning, I'm always trying something different, I'm always seeing new ideas. So, don't get me wrong, I'm not the best, okay? Believe me, I'm not. But for argument's sake, you can go to locations, and you've made an effort to go to this location, and then the photo is the car, smack bang in the middle. What's the point if you've gone to a location to just show the car? You may as well have took that pretty much anywhere with no background or with just a building, because you're not showing the actual location, and yet we drive around looking for these locations to work in with the car. And I think a lot of mistakes that a lot of car photographers make is they think the focus is all on the car, and it doesn't need to be. When you become a photographer and you start start learning about leading lines, rules of thirds, things like that, then you start to see where you can maybe put the car. And this is still something that I'm learning and getting better at. And if anything, it's just my advice that I'm chucking out there for other car photographers, which is dangerous because ones in my area might copy me. But now I'll know that you have, and I'll know that you secretly watch this and give it a thumbs down. But no, you won't. But yeah, the car is the focus. That's what you're photographing. But you've got to use that in that scenario. If you've got no background, you've got to be smart. You've either got to be very good at cloning stuff out of it, of which actually I'll do a quick before and after on this one. Car show. Obviously, you can see all the windmills and stuff like that behind, and I wanted to try and not sell the picture, but I wanted the owner to be proud of this picture and to have it. So I had to remove a few bits and pieces, and yeah, it's come out quite good, and there is a nice fancy print on the way for him.
Postman Pat, and his black and white cat.
But yeah, it's not all just straightforward on, you know, like sideways shots. You've got to use a few angles. You've got to use what nature's given you. You've got to use what architects have given you, and work with that, play with that. So we've gone a little bit off value in your work, and I don't have much more to say. You'll be pleased to know. If you're this far in, fuck me, well done. I'm glad you've stuck around. Doesn't get any better. So no, I think really, yeah, value your work, yes. Do free work for contacts, portfolios, etc., etc. Be different. Try something different and don't copy the rest. Simple as that. Be yourself and put your stamp on it. People say to me, I knew that was your shop when I saw that. I've started watermarking now, but I never used to watermark. And people be like, oh, I knew that'd be one of yours. Yeah, I saw that. And I have a style that stands out. And yes, they're getting a bit mundane now because I like my reflections and whatever. So I do need to step away from that and start thinking outside the box a little bit more, but which is fine. So yes, there you go. Yes is the answer. You should work for free. Just not all the fucking time. Simple as that. Until the next one, peace out. Now fuck off and do some work.